June 1st, 1985. An art professor from Northern Kentucky University leads students on a 3-week tour of Europe. They go and visit museums and galleries. And while he's taking in the work of long-dead masters, he has no idea that he might soon join them. Howard Storm was in agony. Debilitated by excruciating pain, he was rushed to a hospital in Paris. He had a perforation in his small intestine. As a result, his digestive acids spilled onto his other organs. The pain was agonizing. Begging for morphine, he prepared himself for the end. He even told his wife goodbye. Suddenly, his pain was gone. But it wasn't because of a painkiller. He felt better than he'd ever felt, but no one in the room could hear him or see him. From the hallway, he heard voices who were urging him to follow them. He didn't have any other options, so he followed. But these weren't friends, and they didn't want to help him. They wanted to destroy him. Howard Storm didn't know it, but he was walking straight into hell. Howard Storm was a successful man. He had multiple degrees, he was a tenured professor, he had a nice house, he had a family, but Howard was not a happy man. Devoted to his accomplishments, he ignored the people around him. By his own admission, he was self-absorbed and manipulative. He would soon learn the hard way that who we are, our loves, our actions toward others, creates the world that we awaken to after death. The 18th century scientist and spiritual explorer Emanuel Swedenborg believed this to be true, and he observed, "Our nature is completely shaped by the dominant force in our lives. It is the underlying reality of our life." So when Howard followed those shadowy voices, he was walking into a world of his own making. The figures were shadowy, enshrouded in some kind of fog. As the group walked, their surroundings grew darker and murkier, more confusing. Howard grew fearful and suspicious. When he questioned them, they snapped back, "Almost there, hurry up." He could hear whispering, then shushing each other, saying, "He can hear you." Howard had no sense of time, so they could have been walking for minutes or hours or weeks. Finally, he had had enough. He refused to take another step. And the spirits were enraged. They attacked him, clawing, maiming him, literally tearing him apart, delighting in his pain. They were having fun. Exhausted, he gave up, laying broken in the dark. The spirits seemed to lose interest when he stopped fighting back. Howard was alone, discarded and depleted. Then, out of nowhere, a voice told him, "Pray." But he didn't know how to pray. He hadn't done so in years. He also recognized himself in the people who attacked him. He too was cruel, prideful, and selfish.
I was manipulative, completely self-absorbed. I thought because I was an artist and an art teacher, I thought that I was justified in that mindset. Matter of fact, it's kind of expected of like people in the arts, to just be, completely driven, alpha type, narcissistic people. And that's what I was. And that's not good. That's absolutely opposite of what God wants us to be like. And of course, opposite Jesus. So I know that those people that had at me were people just like me, people that thought they were good, thought they were great, thought they were wonderful, totally self-absorbed. But in the world that they had chosen, God didn't cast them into that place. They had chosen that place. They didn't understand the consequences of what they were getting into, although everybody's warned, but nobody believes it. The consequences that you go where you're stripped down to your essential nature, as Swedenborg described.
Yep.
And then in that world where there's no restraint, no laws, no rules, no police, nothing to restrain behavior, people then begin to act out from their most base instincts.
Still, the voice insisted, "Pray to God." Urgently, he grasped at fragments. So he's uttering anything even remotely religious that he knew. Lyrics from hymns, lines from prayers, even the Pledge of Allegiance. Anything he could recall. His tormentors screamed in fury, backing away from him as if in agony. They were retreating. Alone in the dark, he needed help. Desperately, he whispered into the void, "Jesus, please save me." And Jesus did. A being of radiant light appeared before him and lifted him out of the darkness. God had been there all along. It was Howard who could not or would not see. Evil turns itself away, which is how it ends up being completely separated from God and thrown into hell. In reality, God cannot turn away from us or even look at us with a frown. To do any such thing would be against his essence, and what is against his essence is against himself. Howard's life of cold indifference and external success had turned him away from love. He thought he had it all, but now he was about to see what he had missed. Hurtling upward into the light, Howard found himself immersed by infinite, unconditional love. They were joined by other radiant beings. Howard felt like he already knew them, and together they reviewed his life. So he saw his actions through everyone he had ever affected. He began to understand that the things he had valued in his life, like his career and his professional accolades, were totally meaningless to these beings. Instead, they cared only about how he treated other people.
First and most important is that his love for us is beyond any experience of love that we've ever had in our life. So I'm even reluctant to use the word love, but I'm not going to make up a word, you know. He made us.
Yeah.
He likes us. He made our nose, our eyes, our mind, our bodies. He put us in the life situation that we're in. He thinks we are the most adorable things in the world. I'm a grandparent by many times, and the only thing I can compare it to is like how we just love our grandchildren unconditionally, and they can do no wrong. They broke the precious china. Who cares? We'll get another one. You know, not important. Right. You know, and all we want. What do we want for our grandchildren? We just want them to live well, to be good people. You know, and hopefully fulfill whatever potential they have in life. That's what we want for our grandkids, you know? And that's what Jesus wants for us. That's why he doesn't want us to do stupid, bad things, because those are destructive.
Swedenborg would agree. He learned that true happiness comes from loving, selfless acts, from genuine human connection. Very few today realize that doing good deeds without seeking repayment contains heavenly happiness. They do not know there is any other kind of happiness than rising to high position, being waited on by others, abounding in riches, and living a life of sensual pleasure. That there is a higher happiness than those, a happiness that touches a person's inner depths. They are profoundly unaware. The luminous beings slowed down parts of his life, highlighting the good and the bad so that he could learn from it. And they offered him reassurance when he felt ashamed. Finally, they asked, "Do you have any questions?" Howard asked about Scripture. "It is full of truth," the being said, "but only when read with love." He asked which religion was the best. The answer, the one that brings you closest to God. He asked about war and the fate of humanity, and the beings showed him a possible future. It was a world without violence, where people cared first for children, where sickness was healed through prayer, where technology faded into the background of simple communal life.
I didn't see any dwellings at all. People were connected telepathically over the entire Earth and intergalactically, and they controlled the weather. And so the people would go like, things are a little dry, we need some rain, let's bring in some rain. And they would invite the rain to come in, and the rain would come, and then it would go. People spent their time very, very dedicated to the nurturing of children. That was the primary focus of the future, was the nurturing and loving and educating and caring for children. As I said, I didn't see any dwellings at all. I don't know if they had any. My sense was they didn't. I could not perceive any technology. Someone has said to me, maybe the technology was so discreet you didn't recognize it, and I'm willing to say that that's certainly a possibility. But people wore a lot of ornaments, but it was all handmade, crafty stuff, and that may have disguised technology, but I didn't see any application at all. There was no sickness, because when people got sick, the community would come around that person and they would pray for them and they would be healed. When people had reached an age where they had felt that they had fulfilled everything they were put in this world to fulfill, the community would gather around them, and they said it was time for them to ascend to heaven, and everybody would pray and celebrate, and the person would lay down and their bodies would stop functioning.
Howard had learned so much that he felt like a brand new man. But there was still one more thing he had to understand. The beings told Howard that he had to return. He wasn't ready to enter heaven. He had work to do here. Howard did not want to return. Earth was too hard to fix, too broken, and he feared that he would fail and would make mistakes. The beings assured him that he would indeed make mistakes, but mistakes are an inevitable part of becoming a better person. They told Howard that changing the world begins with every single individual. All we can change is ourselves, and by being good people, we are changing the world for the better. Swedenborg learned this as well. God's love goes out and extends not only to good people and good things, but also to evil people and evil things. Despite this, evil people and things are still evil. They receive the love of God according to their own nature. Divine love constantly aims to forge a partnership with us. Howard Storm woke up in the hospital, and he was a changed man. He was overwhelmed by the love that he'd felt, and by his new worldview. He went on to become a best-selling author, speaker, and a pastor. He says being kind and loving isn't always easy. He still makes mistakes, copes with anger or sadness, but now he knows where to turn for help.
Most importantly, I try and keep my heart, my mind, and my soul focused on Jesus Christ as a real living presence in my life, because he knows everything. Mm-hmm. He knows everything I think. He knows everything I do. And so I want to live a life pleasing to him. So I can't hide anything from him. That's the problem with Jesus. He can't hide anything from him. So like if I'm feeling anger, what I do is I say, hey, Jesus, I'm getting really angry. That person really upset me. Will you help me? Will you help me work through this? And I got to go through a process, because I'm not a saint. So I got to go through a process of looking at why am I angry? Why am I feeling so hurt? Why am I being so defensive?
Life on planet Earth is not easy. It's not easy for any of us. But we make life harder than it needs to be when we are selfish, fearful, or cruel to one another. But if we can learn one thing from Howard, it's this: love begins within. We will make mistakes. That's okay. We're here to learn, and we're here to love. We are never alone. God's mercy is constant. Sometimes all we have to do is ask for help. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. This is Curtis Childs. This has been the NDE Files. If you want to see another episode, we recommend this one.